Caoilte MacLean,
How you doing?
welcome back to the Modern Warrior podcast.
Great to be back.
You're looking great, man.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
it. I reckon I'm about 75 kilos now. I think last time you saw me, I was probably pushing 100.
Wow,
So
that's a big change.
yeah.
You're looking fresher and
Thanks.
healthier than ever. So well done, man.
Feel sprightly.
Yeah.
Genuine.
So you were with me in June 2024, I believe, which was
Yeah.
episode 168. This is going to
Mhm.
be episode 201.
Wow.
And
I didn't know you had that many out. I've seen a good few
Yeah.
of them actually. I've gone and had a good look.
I've
but I
been
didn't
tipping
realize there
away.
were
I've
that
been
many.
tipping away.
Nice.
So, what do you feel has been some of the significant changes in your life since June 2024? If you bring yourself back to that time in
Big
your life?
question. Yeah, is it a lot?
It's loaded.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I mean, obviously, my mom got sick. Changes a lot of things. It just changes the dynamic of your life in
Okay.
general. Like, it just does. There's no aspect of your life that it doesn't somehow impact. So obviously, that's been a huge
Mm.
change in how I behave and the things that I do. I have gone through a huge loop of, I feel like I have to swing one way and the other to then find center with everything I do. And I swung really hard one way, swung really hard another way. And I think I'm in the past year maybe trying to find center because I used to be super way too loose with the way that I lived and absolutely terrible. And then I swung super militant, which felt really, and was important at the time. I needed to make that swing. I think I got very militant with myself about a lot of things.
Just too much structure.
Too much structure. And, at first I was like, well, I'll give up doing drugs. Then I have to give up drinking as well. And obviously I can't smoke. And then I was like, so I'll give up coffee and then I'll give up chocolate. And then I'll get up at 6 a.m. every day and put myself in cold water. And all of those things are super valuable and they have their application. You can so get lost in that. And you can mistake progress for productivity, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you can hit all these markers of a morning routine and getting to bed at a certain time. And you can just spin the wheels in that and feel like you're really doing something because you're doing all these self-help things. It's actually not really getting you anywhere. Like it solved a problem. That was its tool. It's time to maybe move past and start living around it as well and implicate rather than get stuck in.
Yeah, because
I
it's
think
almost like it can become an escapism as well. It
Yeah,
can
exactly.
become an
Yeah.
absolute
I
distraction.
just turned it into another drug. Do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
I just ruined myself with it. And I cut off so many friends that were good friends because I was like, yeah, but you smoke cigarettes. I can't be involved in that. I can't even talk to you. And then I got really judgmental, I think, because I was holding myself to this weird
New
standard. And I feel like now I'm starting to swing back into middle
Okay.
somewhat.
What's that been like?
Good. I started drinking again.
Okay.
But
So
I
did
mean,
actually,
yeah,
because we had a conversation on our last
fantastic.
episode
Man.
about
Yeah,
alcohol
I
and
remember you saying, yeah.
we were
Yeah.
demonizing alcohol.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong, still demonize the hell out of it.
Yeah,
I also
well, how
partake a
it's-
little. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Well, I mean, how it's
Um,
maybe promoted or advertised, or this was a huge discussion that we had on the last.
Yeah.
episode, I
But
believe,
because that's what I'm saying. At that point in my life, I was so extreme about not even interacting with people that were drinkers because I kind of had this and again, I needed to do that
Yeah, of
to be
course.
able to find center again. But I was definitely, you caught me right in the real hard swing and it had to happen.
yeah.
Kind of glad to be curving back,
Cool.
just kind of find center again. I mean, drinking was never an issue for me as a substance. I have an issue with it institutionally. I think that people lean on it I still feel that, even somebody who's now drinking again. Sometimes I want to hang out with somebody and not drink. It's a really hard thing to do. It's very hard to, have friends around and go, well, what are we going to do then? We've, especially in this country, society is pretty
Yeah,
set
of
up to drink, which I still really don't like. But my brother had a baby last year, and when he had the kid, he was like, you have to have a pint with me or we're no longer related. And I was like, man, I'm 5 years. And he was like, yeah, but it was because that was never a specific problem of mine. It just kind of, I quit it because I was like, if I quit drugs but I keep drinking, I'm just going to replace it. So I went and I had a pint of Beamish, and I love Beamish.
Yeah.
I love Beamish so much.
the best pint you've
Yeah,
ever
it's
had.
really good. Yeah, and it kind of went from there. And I'm not drinking heavily. I mean, I've had a couple of parties, but it's fairly random. But I'm not militant about it, and I have to say, feels pretty nice also to not judge other people for the fact they drink.
Yeah.
It is quite a freeing sensation,
Because it's my dynamic was, I was creating a whole story about not
Yeah.
being the drinker, you know?
Yeah.
And there's a sense of bravado and a sense of
Yeah,
stroking the ego that comes with that too.
for sure. Yeah,
Check me out. It's like,
stroking the ego is a real big thing.
yeah, I'm not drinking. I'm the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I'm so disciplined. I'm so
Yeah,
strong.
everybody else is down here
Yeah.
somehow in your head. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
it's really a process. Just, hey, have a
Yeah.
fucking pint
If you want,
and
yeah,
forget about the stories.
Yeah,
you know?
literally,
and just
yeah.
let it go. And it's, to maybe put it in a nutshell, it's me having the power over the alcohol instead of the alcohol having power over me.
it's actually something I spoke about a lot in my personal life. Haven't found the words to say it to a camera yet, but I guess I'll say it to you. I think that when I was an addict, I was an addict. And then when I was so entirely squeaky clean, it felt like a part of the addiction in some strange way. It felt like I was living with a wound of a previous addiction. And again, I think that's really important. Like if somebody was to hear this and they're in the pits of it, don't go, well, I'm not going to quit drinking. I'm just going to drink occasionally. No, quit. You really need to. And as did I. You got to take that clean period, wipe the slate and everything. And maybe that period is a month. Maybe it's 10 years. Maybe it's the rest of your life, depending on the problems that you're facing with substances.
Because that's when you actually realize your attachment with it, isn't
Exactly,
Yeah.
of course. And I think that for me anyway, the whole time being completely sober, I was like, this is my forever and I can't even be around it. And then when I got a little bit more healed, the next step was you're kind of still dragging it around. You're just doing it in sobriety now, but you're still tied to the idea that it's a huge monster in the room that you have to fight off. Whereas like maybe it's just a guy you can have a chat with every now and again, but don't hang around with him too much because he's a bit lazy. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how I see alcohol now.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, maybe I'll talk to you again next year and go, man, I fell off completely.
Yeah.
I'm way back. But
Yeah,
nah,
yeah.
I don't think so because I had real problems with certain substances.
Mm.
Certain substances I didn't have big problems with. They just kind of got put in the package of, well, everything has to go.
Okay.
And those things I'm not afraid of letting back as long as they're very controlled.
Yeah. It takes an incredible sense of self-awareness to get to that place.
It does, yeah. Also, being able to catch, when you bring it back a little, you have to go, if I'm drinking to have a good time, that's okay. If I'm drinking because I'm having a bad time, I can't do that. That's a totally different ball game.
Yes.
And
Different energy.
that's totally different thing, yeah. And that's definitely something you have to catch. Because I'll be honest, you have stresses in life, things happen, life becomes a weight sometimes around your neck, and some days you go, well, I had a good time the other day when I had a few pints. What if I had a few tonight? Maybe that would make today a good day. And that is a thought that because I used to be addicted to stuff, I'll catch and go, no, you've done that before. And you know what that's like.
Yeah.
So on the days that I feel bad, I will stay away from everything as militantly because I'm like, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Do it when you're smiling, not to make yourself smile,
So what
Big
is
thing.
the go-to then when you do have those days when it's not alcohol now?
Now it's skating, I have to admit.
Yeah,
I have
that's
to,
the new
it's
addiction.
huge. Yeah, I lived in Poland for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Lived in Krakow for a couple of months. It was great. Over there's a huge skating culture. And I always wanted to get into skating. Never found the moment. When I was younger, my brother was a really good skater. And I was like, that's just your thing, I guess. And then there was a buddy over there, started skating, immediately got into it. It tickles the part of my brain that I need tickled. Like I've said this a load of times. It's the safest thing I have found that makes me feel in danger. And that's what I need. You know what I mean? You can drive really fast. You can do a lot of substances. You can do some awful things that are genuinely really dangerous. I get the same out of skating, and I'm like, this is the safest way I've ever had that feeling. So I like it. And
it's that risk, isn't it? The adrenaline. that comes
It's the
with it.
risk. I think a lot of people struggle with that, but I definitely have an addiction to risk. I love it. I love the even right in the middle of it, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. You know what I mean? I really like that, and skating does that.
Do you feel that that's across the board for men in particular?
I think I have to say, I do think most of the issues we have in general are spread across the board. I think that men's mental health, super, super valuable. I don't like things that grab, and for a lot of people it's helpful and I understand that, but for me personally, I don't like to offer help to a group. I like to just offer to everybody. So whenever I talk about things, I'm always like, we're just people. We're just all dogs, you know what I mean? And I don't like to label things as like, oh, this helps other men. Really hope that it does, but I don't want that sentence to put off women.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and
yeah.
I've said this before as well, is when I'm getting DMs and stuff from people saying, oh, you helped or whatever, covered up the username, I'd have no idea what gender they were. And it's a real split down the middle. So I think that it's definitely across the board for men, but I think it's across the board for a lot of women too. It just looks a little different.
Yeah. But even in that context, in the sense of men or testosterone or sort of, that aggressive streak
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
perhaps primarily have.
yeah,
It's sort of
definitely
it's
connected.
often channeled into maybe dangerous pursuits that
Yeah,
could
for
have
sure.
a potentially
Yeah,
detrimental consequence, like
Yeah.
we spoke about before, where
Mm.
you're drinking or driving fast and
anything. Yeah.
somebody gets injured or something
Mm.
really traumatic happens. Whereas again, you sort of take that and you channel it into something that's healthy. Like,
Exactly.
the worst that can
Yeah.
happen is you
Yeah.
fall off your skateboard.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Maybe.
mean, don't get me wrong. I know some people have lost like all their front teeth from it, but
Okay.
that's kind of the part that I like. I'm like, I didn't, so I'm doing good. you know?
Okay, yeah. Just
That's
where
the adrenaline. If
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't lose my teeth, it would be fun. You know?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
And then what else has changed?
Yeah. So I mean, living abroad for a couple of months changed my perception on just existing hugely.
Oh,
I'm sure
really?
anybody who's lived abroad understands what I'm saying. My entire world was this island, and I had not considered anything outside of it. Spur of the moment trip to Hungary. Just literally, I was driving to the airport and didn't know I was getting on a plane. I was dropping my fiance off to get on a plane, and during the course of that half an hour drive, she went, "Oh, somebody cancelled," and I went, "Oh, so there's accommodation there that's already paid for," and it was like I think it was 10 days or 2 weeks, something like that, and I just went, I wonder how last minute you can buy a ticket. You know, I just ended up, I had my passport in the car just randomly and nothing else. I had like my gym clothes and like nothing with me. And I went to Hungary with a passport and one button down shirt and a pair of cargos, which were the wrong clothes to take completely, but that's what I had. And suffered in the sweltering heat in the heaviest clothes for, I think it was 10 days, something like that. And did Vienna as well on the same trip.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back, I went, I got a taste for going somewhere. And then it just kind of spread from there. I went to Lithuania, went to Poland again. A friend of mine lived there for a little while. That made a huge impact on my perception of the world.
What was it within that whole experience, of those experiences that you felt created the shift?
I think there was two things. One, it was the first time that I was by myself, genuinely. There was just space to be me. My mom wasn't there, my family wasn't there, my fiance wasn't there. All of the people that I feel a responsibility to be a certain person for weren't there.
Oh, so it's just she wasn't even with you this time?
No,
Yeah,
she stayed in Ireland. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just I lived with a buddy, and there was nobody kind of looking to me to be a person that I've been. And so I just had this freedom of my own mind. And I feel like I hate to be like, oh, I found myself, because it sounds so cliche, but I totally did, you know? And that's where I started skating as well and stuff like that.
What did you find?
I think I found that was the start of me going, you've become too militant, you need to swing back a little bit. And I'd already started drinking by then, but that was because my brother had a baby and everything. But it was around then that I had a lot of just wandering around the city that I'd never seen before and thinking about stuff. And I guess there was parts of me being like, I was wandering around seeing people in pubs and smoking and stuff like that and just doing things. And also because I was in the skater community, which is obviously full of people that do all those kind of things. And I was really judgmental and really just away from it. And then I suppose I had to kind of revisit that topic and go, why are you being like that? Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not awful, degenerate people, but you are viewing them that way for some reason. And I had to kind of go, oh, I might have swung a bit hard the other way and maybe I should try and that's kind of what started the arc back to center. So I definitely found the concept of you have turned sobriety into another self-destructive mechanism, and this is your pattern, so you'll find it back center again.
And having the courage to actually ask yourself that question of, okay,
tough.
Yeah.
A few days of sitting there going, who am I? And really trying to work it out. But I'm lucky. I've got good support around me. I've got good friends and my fiance and everything. So I have conversations and go, how do we all feel about what I'm thinking? And then I get to bounce off other people.
Okay. Yeah, so you'd actually run this by them?
Yeah. I run almost everything. If I think something deep enough, I have one really close friend, my brother and my fiance, all hear about it as I'm thinking about it. We all have a conference about how I'm supposed to feel, and then we work it out together.
That's great.
I'm very grateful for that. I really am. Yeah, it's community.
Because
everything.
again, we can get so caught up in our own world, isn't it? And our own perception.
Yeah,
sometimes just need somebody to come in and burst that bubble. And say,
I think having some sort of form of community around you is so important, and I think we have a huge lack of that in general. I think that's why, people get into good and bad things that are just super clicky. Like, some of them are really beneficial and great, and maybe it's a running club. I don't know if everybody who's in running clubs is super into running. I don't know why I'm picking on running clubs specifically.
It's okay. But it's a fair statement, yes.
I mean, they're really fast. They can get away from me. I'm jealous about it. You know what I mean? I can't catch them to tell them what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I feel like just as a specific, I think a lot of times it's community, not running. I feel it with skating, and I have to say the skateboarding community is super welcoming. It's out of all sports, they're really, really great people, and I definitely felt that. Like, I love skating, but I love having a little community too. You know, it's a real primal thing where you just want, and I think that whether it's you and 2 people or like up to like 50 people, that just feels really good.
Yeah.
To have a little group where you're all on a page.
Just bouncing off each other, yeah.
It just feels good.
We're sort of losing up the whole online demographic.
Which is so unfortunate because social media could be used to make that so much more.
Of course.
But unfortunately, it does seem to be doing the opposite and kind of isolating people, which is really unfortunate.
How do you see that playing out? Like, again, we're talking about, you know, swinging too far to one side and then maybe finding the middle ground. You know, we could also use that statement or take that approach when it comes to social media as well.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you see that? Because you are so
yeah
out there on social media, so you sort of know the game, and you
I suppose as much as I post, I don't actually consume that much of it, but that's a conscious choice because I know that it'll get to me. I will turn Instagram Reels into another drug. I will do it. I feel myself doing it where I don't even notice taking out the phone. I go, what are you doing? Don't know. So I think if you can, it's a tool like anything else. Like sobriety is, it's a tool. You know what I mean? It's not. Don't let anything consume you entirely, but use it for what it's for. And it's social media. It can connect you with other people if you use it that way. You know, I think a lot of people have this kind of idea that they're a victim of the algorithm. I hear that a lot. And I'm like, true, but you did curate that algorithm. I know obviously there are higher powers at work showing you things, but you could use it to reach out to people. You could use it to watch motivational or helpful content. You don't have to watch AI videos of kittens. That is, you know.
You could use it to watch Caoilte as well.
Yeah, you could. That'd be great. That'd be great. Love everybody who does. Do you know what I mean? But exactly. So, you know, you can use it for more purposeful things rather than.
How do you manage that yourself? Being out there so much and being so consistent with your posting, do you feel that can also suck you in and become another addiction as such, where you're having to, again, you talk about being militant. Could that shift over to the...
Definitely. Yeah. And I didn't post for about 2 weeks when I came back from Poland because I was like, I need to find what I've gone too far with. Now, I did consider not stopping or slowing down posting. I was like, I don't know. You know, I kind of got a little bit, you know, whenever for stuff to land, you have to throw it up first. And now it's all in the air and you're freaking out a little bit. So I definitely had a moment where I was like, what am I doing? And then I missed it like crazy. When I didn't make videos regularly, I found myself just driving and talking to myself in my car like there was a camera in front of me.
Okay.
And I was like, I love it. I love doing it. Yeah. So I went straight back to it. But I definitely did think, because, you know, a lot of what I was talking about, I was like, well, if I don't feel that way, how am I? Is it still valuable for me to do it? Is it still helping anybody? You know, if I'm changing, does the content change? Does it make it still helpful? And I'm not going to do it if it's not helpful because I just don't get paid for it or anything. So that kind of thing. But I definitely was pulled back to it mostly because I just love it. Yeah. I just really love doing it. But there was definitely kind of a swing. Even the content that I made changed because at first I was doing it for me, and then I realized I was doing it because I knew it was helping, and I was like, now I feel a responsibility to do it. And then afterwards I went, well, I'm not going to do it if it feels like a chore. I'm going to create things that I really like creating, and I just hope other people are watching, and that's about it. You know,
I've actually noticed that shift in your content where it's not to make it sound as though it was all about you in the past, but there was maybe less focus on the consumer and more focus on yourself in terms of what it was that you were feeling or going through. Whereas now it seems that you're more focused on whoever is watching that video, and
I suppose that wasn't a conscious thing, but you got a point.
Giving some more helpful tips and giving some strategies, which is something I haven't seen you do before in terms of here's 3 ways that you can do this, and here's a couple of steps to do that. And again, I've just noticed that shift where because I'm sure you're well aware of it, but there is a huge sense of responsibility that comes with somebody that has such an influence on people in life. Yeah. And there are people watching your content that are ultimately hanging on your every word. I know, yeah. That does get to me in a good way. But sometimes I feel I went through a phase of feeling that really strongly, and it slowed me down posting, because every time I went to post something, I went, is this the right thing to say? Yeah. Is this good? Is this a damaging thing to say? I don't know. And then I had to just go, never visit that
side of your brain again and just make things that feel good and put them out. And they seem to be helpful. I mean, some people absolutely hate it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're going to get them.
Yeah. But that's fine.
That's usually a good sign.
I mean, the interactions I have in real life, I've had very few negative ones. I've had some really negative ones, but like I've had, you know, the outweighing numbers that people are usually really nice.
Have you had some negative ones in real life?
Yeah, no, I have. I've had so many physical threats.
Oh, really?
When I was in Limerick at one stage, and there's a place called Dock Road in Limerick. I came out of a garage, and it wasn't long after I had put up a video kind of taking a stab at kind of consumerist, kind of like gold chain, Gucci tracksuit people. And there was one of those right there, and he fully took a swing at me.
Oh, really?
He was not a very proficient physical altercationist. Put it that way. So it wasn't too much of an issue.
Yes.
I was quite, if he'd been an absolute unit, that could have been pretty bad, but he turned out not to be an absolute unit. So it was okay. But that's the only one that's been really, really bad. And then I've had people come up to me and just go, I think you're a dickhead. And I go, thanks, man. And
really?
Then they walk
people
off.
Go up to you on the street
Sometimes, yeah. It's usually
when
if I'm out, it'll always be younger lads occasionally will come up and go, oh, it's you. And I go, yeah, how you doing? And they go, I fucking hate you so much. And then they walk off. And I go,
this is what filled out of drinking them, is it usually?
Yeah, sometimes not.
Oh, really?
Sometimes it's just somebody who's like, I said I'd say it if I saw him, and there he is. And they go, well, I'm going to say it then.
Does that get to you?
Nah, not at all. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
You do know you're actually doing them a favor, yeah? You're bringing up their shit that they're unwilling to look at.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
yeah. It wouldn't bother you so much if I wasn't right.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Or at least you think I'm right a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, so it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't get to me.
Again, the truth will piss us off.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You've poked something there that they're unwilling to look at.
Exactly. Yeah. And
I'm sorry, and you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, I actually have to give it to some people. Got a message from one guy ages ago, and I remember the message because he sent me this really big abusive message, and I looked at it and I went, yeah, ignored it. And about 6 months later, I got another one, and he went, changed my mind actually. Saw a few of them. You had a point, and I went, legend. He's like one of my favorite DMs I've got because I was the first one was so like really aggressive, and then the second one was so. You're helping actually. And I was like, I love that. Like, it's almost better than just you being nice originally. It was really cool just to see this. And I actually texted back. I was like, man, I actually really appreciate you watching, taking the time to think about it. And like, that's huge. For you, that's huge growth. Like, really well done.
But then again, the first message was probably you maybe did provoke a truth, and he actually took that with him in some way and healed.
Must have thought about it because these were literally about 6 months apart.
Yeah, okay.
And it could have been more. Could have been about 8 months. And so he must have sent that, and 3 months later sat there and gone, yeah. So I actually really like that. It's one of the best interactions I've had. So I really loved it.
Beautiful that happens. Yeah. And again, knowing that you've been an influence in that.
Yeah, which is great. Which is so great. Yeah.
And then, so swinging back to center, are you there? Are you back to center?
I always think I'm at center until I go a little bit further and I go, I wasn't at center at all.
Oh, okay.
You know, I find it, I know that I'm swinging.
Okay.
I find it really hard. I know when I'm close,
okay.
But then I think I do this like a lot and go, whoa. And then I don't know if I'll ever work out when it's dead straight arrow.
Yeah,
but I think I'm pretty close.
And what were some of the things that sort of brought you back to center?
Definitely, obviously, just being in Poland was huge because I was by myself to think. That was obviously a massive one. The other one was when I started drinking, it wasn't the effect on me, it was my attitude towards other people that felt nice because I was super judgmental of people that were indulging. And then when that dropped, suddenly had a much friendlier feeling to the world around me. I was like, it's actually fine. And that definitely made me go, I really need to find center, and was a huge part of the swing. Like any time that I either started doing something or just stopped judging other people for doing it, I was like, there's no value in judging other people. That's a terrible way to behave, you know? It just is. And so that was probably the biggest thing that made me just go, if you like it and it's not unhealthy, that's okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? As long as everything's in some amount of moderation.
And did you look at those people who were, let's say, enjoying themselves with a few beers and realize that maybe you didn't deserve to enjoy yourself, and that this
very
was
much
actually
in the beginning,
this was actually the pain that was coming up, or the difficulty that was rising in you?
I think in a way it was more that I just very much felt like I was repenting. Like I feel like I was doing, Hail Marys for it, like, and I was like, you've definitely. I felt like I was punishing myself for something.
Yeah.
In a massive way, and then it's symbiotic completely between the more that I kind of looked at other people and went, that's okay. I look at myself and go, that's okay. And then I, do that with myself, and then it would reflect and it would bounce away. And then it just made the world feel friendlier.
Yeah.
But again, I do not regret the sobriety. It had to happen.
Yeah, of course.
100%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're going to have to clean it first to then, do you know what I mean? If you draw a bad picture, you're going to have to wipe the picture off to draw another one. You can't just draw over the top. You're going to have to take that period of time. This is super valuable. And I hope I never make a mistake bad enough that I have to do it at any level again. But really glad that I did. And anybody who feels like they maybe should do it, try it. Do it a week, a month, a day. Doesn't matter. Just give it a go. See, is it valuable? And then write it out. And the only thing I can say is if you're sitting there going, how will I know when I've taken it too far? You'll know. You can feel it. It suddenly starts to feel not nice anymore. You can feel that I've gone too far into whatever it is, I think.
Yeah. Big thanks to Earthkind, our new sponsor of the Modern Warrior podcast. They have some incredible products like the tallow and honey balm, which is great for skin hydration and repair. And then they've got the wild yam balm, which helps to relax the body and calm the mind. I've been using both of these products. The wild yam balm has certainly been helping with my sleep, and the tallow and honey balm has certainly helped with my skin. So go check them out. Click the link below and grab yourself a couple of these. Yeah. And then, so is it an approach where you almost become an observer of these people and identify what they're possibly reflecting back to you, which is something for you to look at? And again, this is in general, even if, like, for example, we're all susceptible to judging people at a certain point, but what we're actually seeing in them is something that we're seeing in ourselves.
Oh, for sure. I've said this a few times as well, that the way people talk to you and treat you is almost 100% just how they talk and treat themselves. Like it's almost entirely, the world is the world, but the filter you put on it is in here. And so that's just how it's all completely, it's, I think I said at one stage, I was like, if people are treating you badly, just take comfort in the fact that they're treating themselves exactly the same. And it's 100% true.
Yeah.
It really is. Like it seems like a basic concept, but like at the same time, like, anything we're putting out has to come from in here. So obviously, do you know what I mean? Like whatever's in here is going to come out, and that's how you're going to interact with people. And that's how you're going to judge people. And it's definitely something that I have sunk into a couple of times in life. Yeah. But
you mentioned the word healing there some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
What did that look like, and what were some of the wounds that had to heal in order for you to sit here today as certainly a better man?
In between 5 or 6 years ago and then getting clean, or are we talking from a year
Let's
ago
go
to now?
Whatever comes up for you here. Whatever you feel is relevant to talk about.
I think at first, in any stage of healing, there will be a moment where you go, this is wrong. I know it is. And you will have no idea what is right. I've definitely gone through that cycle a lot, where it's like, I know that this is not what I'm after.
You mean you can't find a way out of it?
Yeah, or it's just you can't even see. You don't know what it is. Like I know that I don't like, how I'm existing right now for whatever reason. And so I have to go somewhere. I think a huge thing is a lot of people will sit in that and wait until there's a perfect direction. Go, oh, well, it's obviously that. And then stay on that direction for the rest of their life. And that's kind of the idea. It's like, what's the whole thing? It's like, this is not a loading period before life starts. It's life is the days passing you by while you wait to decide. It's that happens on a macro and a micro scale when you're in an issue. Mm-hmm. For me, is a huge thing. I'll feel this unrest with whatever it is. I'll just know there's something off. And then I'll have to sit there and go, I need to think about what it is I want to do. And then if the obvious answer isn't there, I will just do anything. I'll just move in any direction. And if that direction is wrong, fine, at least I'm not there anymore.
You're just going to make a decision.
Just got to make a decision and just go after it. And you don't have to make a decision today that stays with you for the next 80 years. Do something different for a week, and then maybe you never do it again, or maybe you do it for the rest of your life. Or maybe you do something for a week that leads you to something else. It's all just movement. Do you know what I mean? There's no right direction. It's just get moving. Just as much as you can. Don't stagnate.
And there's no such thing as a bad decision, because you're either going to experience the consequence that you hoped for, or you're going to
learn
Learn.
that you didn't like.
So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's
There's no such thing as a bad decision. Well, I've definitely made a series of decisions in my life that definitely felt bad, but as much as sometimes I sit there and go, damn, you really threw 10 years there, didn't you? But then I'm like, well, I'd never be who I am now.
Exactly.
Ever.
Yeah.
If I'd done 4 years of it, wouldn't have turned into this.
Mm-hmm.
It would have turned into something else.
Mm-hmm.
So to be here had to happen. So 100%, it just doesn't feel like that at times. Sometimes you have to really remind yourself of that.
And as you sit here now, do you feel that some of those deeper wounds have been healed, or is it still a process?
I think there's, it's really funny actually, where I was talking about this quite recently with my fiance. I've always had something that I've recently started calling the void. And I think that a lot of people, maybe they're born with it, maybe they're not.
It's a sense, it's a feeling of emptiness.
I call it the void just to give it a name, but it feels like something that it's the reason that I did drugs. It's the reason that it's the reason I distract. It's it's the thing I'm distracting from. And I feel like for ages I was like, there's something wrong and you can fix it. I think a lot of people, maybe I'd get to a point in my life where I go, you can fix it. I don't think it's something that needs fixing. I think it's a great motivator if you point it in the right direction. Like, like if you've heard of cat and cheese, rat. I'd say it's like a motivational concept that, like, if a rat is just sitting here and you put cheese in front of him, he will move towards the cheese, but he'll move a lot faster if there's a cat behind him. Or if there's just a cat, but it's the combination of the two that you need. You need, this is what I want. I'm running from that. I'm running from void and I'm looking for what I want. Okay. And that's what keeps me moving. It's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But you don't know what the void is, as in you don't know what's,
you don't know
what's missing?
No, I thought for years that I'd work it out. Years ago, I was like, I'll buy a Gucci tracksuit and that'll fill it. Obviously didn't.
Is it self-love?
Maybe. I feel like I've tried to swing at self-love as hard as I can, though. But I think, it's people who put labels on it, like, oh, it's just ADHD, or it's something like that. I genuinely just think that my mind moves pretty fast a lot of the time. And if I allow it to do that without a trajectory, the void will come up behind me and go, get moving. And then I will move. If I don't watch what direction I go in, it could very easily be a bad one. Yeah. So I think that the large part of the healing has been just to know that it's something I'm dealing with, point it in the right direction, use it for good things. Don't let it just suddenly shock you and go, oh, this came out of nowhere. I better start doing crack. Do you know what I mean?
It's a beautiful concept, and it's definitely a path that I've walked before, but I've also realized that a couple of things that a pain, let's call like the void a pain, okay?
Yeah.
But the pain is not a problem to be fixed.
No.
It's a wound to be healed. And
exactly.
Usually the pain is not in the head, it's something that's stored in the body.
Yeah.
So like when you feel the void, it's in the body, it's not in
it's
the head.
100%
But then
we
go to the head and we go, I need to sort this void. I need to fill this up. It's like, but you're thinking it instead of feeling it.
Yeah, which is two different languages.
Yeah,
just
taking an approach of curiosity with it. It's like, I wonder what that is. And just actually sitting in the shit.
Which sitting with your feelings, the hard thing to do. Super valuable.
Yeah,
super valuable.
What's that concept? Is this like would that be a daily practice of yours? Or
for sure, yeah. And it's something I have to remind myself to do.
Yeah,
because
it's fucking hard.
It's fucking hard. And also I have such a instinct to distract. It's always when I'm driving because I'm alone in a car. And also my car tops out at 80 kilometers an hour because it's 40 years old. And it's an old lady and she doesn't want to go anywhere, but I keep bullying her into doing stuff. So she 80 kilometers an hour down the road, turn a 2-hour drive into a day's mission. And I'll be sitting there and I'll feel that feeling of like, oh my God, thinking things I don't like. And I'll go for the AirPods, stick them in. And then that will happen without me thinking about it. I try and catch that and go, don't take them out, sit in silence in your car. And 90% of the best ideas or concepts that I've ever come up with in my life have all come from going, don't listen to a podcast, don't put music on, just sit in your thoughts, even though you hate it.
It's a greater intelligence here.
It's something. It's and it really is a powerful feeling. And like, I've never gotten into meditation in a conventional sense, but that is what I would call meditation, is just not distracting yourself when you are trying really hard. And I think you do realize if you don't distract yourself as well, that you kind of get this idea that I call it the void. It's a concept that's kind of really come up for me, is that it's approaching And if it gets to me, it is over. I don't know what I mean by that, but I'm done. And so I put the headphones in, or I do something, or I skate, or I take sobriety way too seriously.
You mean like you're done as in...
I don't know what I mean. It's just, I know there's a sense of panic that it's approaching. Something's going to happen when it gets here, and I can't let it do it.
Okay.
And then, but when you kind of go, don't, just see what happens. Nothing happens.
Take a breath.
Yeah, you can sit there and it'll show up and you can talk to it for a bit and it's fine. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to constantly keep it at bay. You can reason with it. Maybe it's got something to say. Do you know what I mean? It's and I've really, in my head, a really big help has been I can almost picture what I think it would look like. Like instead of this just being an empty feeling of just existential crisis and worry, I have gone, no, it's a real thing. Condense it down, give it a name, and that's something you reason with it. Do you know what I mean? Talk to it.
You can talk to the void. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's got ideas for me.
Yeah, okay.
I won't know that if I keep distracting myself and pushing it away.
Yeah.
So
do you feel that the curiosity around that void will potentially lead you to attempt, let's say, for want of a better term, other healing modalities such as psilocybin or plant medicines of some sort?
Psilocybin's great.
Yeah.
Always has been. I've always, there are certain substances that I always knew at some point I would dabble in again, and mushroom cannabis. Didn't think I'd do alcohol, but I did. But mushrooms and cannabis, I was like, I won't smoke it because it's just, that feels like a different thing to me, but like edible in either way. I think there's real value in it. I mean, I have definitely been addicted to weed for long periods. That's an addiction that can be real. Like people say it's not addictive. Completely not true. It is violently addictive if you do it when you're in a bad mood, especially.
Is it the cannabis or is it the tobacco?
Well, I think it's the cannabis for sure. I mean, tobacco is also horrendously addictive.
So two powerful combinations there.
Yeah, but I think especially, look, I can't speak for anybody else. My issues is definitely that I will become active out of self-defense rather than out of proactive. There's a word there that I'm almost at.
Yeah.
Proactiveness or whatever. Yeah.
Proactive.
Yeah, proactive. Yeah. I was almost there. I will become active out of self-defense, as in I'll get uneasy and I'll go, oh, I just gotta do something. And the reason that is helpful is because if you sit there with that panic, you'll get real nice ideas out of it, and it's a really good way of meditating. If you get up and start moving, then you'll achieve something. If you smoke weed, the feeling will go away entirely and you won't do anything.
Yeah.
That's when it becomes...
Just turn into a vegetable.
It'll just turn into a vegetable. And that's when I think that it's damaging.
Okay.
So as long as you can make sure that it's not habitual, you're not doing it as a coping mechanism. Do you know, that's the thing. I have to say that because I definitely have been down the rabbit hole, and I know people who've been down the rabbit hole of just, well, it's just weed.
Yeah.
But you give your whole life to it if you let it.
But then when you talk about weed and alcohol and psilocybin or any other modality, that's the intention behind it, though, isn't it? I mean, for example, if I've done a couple of mushroom retreats in a healing capacity, though. So we're taking mushrooms to heal. I'm taking mushrooms to go deeper into myself and to understand myself more, and to again understand why this void is here for me.
Great for that,
And again, that's a very, like, with whatever the intention is, the mushrooms will actually take you through that journey. But if the intention is just to, again, escape or run away or numb or have a good time, then that's probably what you're going to receive as well.
Do you think there's a hard line to walk there? Because I definitely think there is, and it might just be because I'm that type of person. But I think there's a hard line to walk where if you use mushrooms to learn something about yourself because you're in a rough patch, very valuable. If it's enjoyable, will learning turn into coping? You know what I mean?
Well, to answer question number one, from my own experience, it wasn't that I was in a rough patch as such. So the first time I did mushrooms, I'd done maybe a decade's worth of talk therapy, and journaling and all of this. And then I felt as though I'd hit a ceiling with all that. But I know there's something more here. I know there's a void here, you know. But I just don't know how to access this with just talk or journaling alone. And I've spoken about different people, but psilocybin and mushrooms, and I was recommended this place. That's in Ireland. And I was like, I think now it's time. So I went there with the intention of, okay, like, show me more.
Yeah.
And then they showed me
it's a
more.
good headspace to be. Yeah.
I was like, it all makes sense now.
And you found that it was helpful?
Caoilte, it changed my life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you think is some of the biggest things that come out of that specific experience for you?
That specific experience actually showed me why I'm aligned to this purpose in life, why I do what I do. And also, they also show me why I went through all these processes in the past of being bullied and, going through a family breakup and again, years of being bullied. All the rejection, all the car accident, being involved in a fatal car accident, all of these things just they brought me through the whole process and say, this is why it happened. So when that came to me, there was just this incredible sense of relief that it wasn't for nothing.
Yeah.
And then this instilled again the deeper purpose in me to do what I do today in terms of helping other people. So there were some of the key takeaways from the first one, and just the realization that one big message that was coming through was we are all connected, and there's nothing to fear because everything is connected. Everything just continues, and there's no end here as such. It's like everything is just one. And again, that's just that sense of peace and calm that comes with the realization that, hey, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Like the fear is it's false expectations appearing appearing real. So there was, I mean, there's so much more, but like this is a 4 or 5 hour trip. Like different things are happening. And 6 months later, I returned because over the 6 month period, it's not what happens there. It's how you then begin to integrate it and apply it into your life. And then obviously this changes things and there's enhanced awareness. And then I became aware that I was still falling into this victimhood mentality anytime things just wouldn't work out for me in life. And I caught myself a couple of times. I said, this has to go. And I went back again with the intention of getting me out of this state of victimhood. And delivered exactly what I needed, which was that I already have all the answers. Stop running into the gym, stop running into the sea, stop running into your journal even, stop like all these healthy modalities, stop running away from yourself because you already know. So this was then the start of practicing meditation, which was fucking hard.
What kind of meditation are you practicing?
Well, at the start, it was lying down on the ground and just close my eyes. And
you weren't using like a specific blueprint?
No.
Just with the thoughts.
Just like because again the message that came through was you already know the answers, so stop running away from yourself. So again, for me to stop running away from myself, I've got to just be with myself. And I'm telling you, man, every single second I wanted to get up and go.
Yeah.
And then I was like, shit. Yeah. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because even the journaling is active.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is great. I'm journaling. And of course it served its purpose. Yeah.
They're all tools.
They're all tools to get you to a certain point until, maybe that tool becomes blunt and you need to find another one to bring you a little bit further and to sharpen the edges. But lying there and doing that meditation, I remember the first few times I did it, like every single second. But again, it's just taking that breath and just stay. No, don't get up. Stay.
That's a really tough thing to do.
Yeah, it's and then going through all the
You
thoughts.
found it easier as time went on?
Oh yeah,
It's a skill.
Yeah.
That's what anything's a skill.
It's a skill, yeah. Like I can sit now for, I don't know how long, 30, 40 minutes and just be there. I often go to the forest and just sit on the bench for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Close my eyes.
Yeah.
And just listen to nature, and then sometimes again, messages or things will come to me.
I do actually find it very easy to do in nature.
Yeah.
It doesn't give me the same run reflex. I think it's very light stimulation, just the sounds.
Yeah.
It's like you're not really being stimulated, but you are. There's something to kind of ground you a little bit. You're not just in the abyss of your mind.
A lot of those sounds are quite high frequency as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
I wonder if that has something to do. I've never looked in. I know frequency things is something that people get really into. I've never personally looked into it.
It's funny because somebody mentioned to me yesterday, we were in the forest and she was saying, oh, you know that the songbird sings at like 442 hertz? I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, but I'm not very inept in it, but it's it's a healing frequency.
Yeah.
So there's healing in the forest, as you're well aware.
Yeah, I'm very aware.
But again, it's the ability to do that frequently, not just when you're going through a shitty time, or not just when you're having a bad day, or even when you're having a good day, every single day, because there's always something I feel simmering beneath the surface that just needs to be processed, or needs to go.
I think something you said that was really eloquently put, which is that even journaling is active, because I think that's something that people overlook completely. This is what I was saying about, me taking the sobriety too seriously. Well, not too seriously, but maybe holding on to it for a bit long, get very militant about it, is that in my mind, that was the answer and the cure, but that is still active. That is still that's still me running from something. It's still a process of escape.
Yeah.
It's just one that I have told myself is not and valid, and this makes you better, and that's whatever. And so I get locked into it and refuse to see that it is another process of running off.
It's quite really interesting, because it rings true to my own experience with that. I've only had a few pints of Guinness this year, only since February.
Yeah.
So, but it was coming to the realization that the same reason that I was drinking is the same reason that I'm not drinking, and the reason is fear.
Yeah,
because I was drinking because I was afraid that I wouldn't fit in, and I was afraid that I would be awkward, and to pick up my insecurities and not drink, and be good crack, and everyone will like you. Fear. Not drinking because I was afraid that the alcohol would take over and then would ruin my days, ruin my life, and whatever else. Fear.
100%. Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
And a sort of distrust in yourself to be able to negotiate that.
Yeah, of
You're
course.
like, I have to implicate these rules like I'm a toddler, because obviously I'm not capable of dancing through that. Like,
Which again, we had to go through to come to that realization.
Because everything has an application, and it's a huge thing. Is that everything is a tool. Like it's like, people talk about the opioid epidemic. Awful, terrible, is a really good painkiller when you really need it. You know what I mean? Like, don't take it recreationally. It's evil in that scenario. But if you have broken your leg, it's great.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with anything. Everything has an appropriate dose. Do you know? And maybe that dose is microscopic and unnecessary for you, but for somebody it has an appropriate dose.
Yeah.
But I think recognizing that I'm a very black and white extremist person. I'm like, it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, talking about healing, that's something I've really had to work on. I'm still working on, is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And I've said before that the things that I say in my videos are always things I'm saying myself. It may be in the past and I needed to hear them then, or maybe I need to hear them now. It's always talking to myself, and one of them is definitely this all or nothing mentality is great. With the right application, sometimes, you'll achieve things other people won't achieve if you're that extreme about stuff. You just will, I mean, it's just a fact. However, you don't have to make a decision today that then lasts for the rest of your life. And that's something that I struggled with massively. Anytime I would think of doing something, I would go, well, am I going to do it forever? No, I won't bother then. And I would get really stuck in that. And I think that the concept of don't take everything so seriously is really prevalent in that, because the extremist mentality makes me think that, well, if a lot of it is bad, then a little of it is also evil, and really had to play with the idea of doses of things. It's like, social media, if you do it all day, every day and refuse to see other people, that is bad. If you do it a little bit when you're bored in a doctor's waiting room and you don't have to just have a shit 20 minutes, that's pretty good. And if you use it to text your mates and organize outings, that's pretty good. Applications. Do you know what I mean? Same thing with like you're saying about the mushrooms. That's what I'm saying. I think there's a fine line. There's a dance there. Maybe not with that specific, because that was, was an organized activity. But if a lot of people will say the same thing about cannabis, that they'll use it as a tool to do work in their own mind and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, great. With the right application.
Yeah, every single day.
Yeah, every single day, all day. Don't do anything else.
Yeah,
and
I'm on a healing journey, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it worked. I haven't had an original thought in 10 years. So I'm happy as fuck. Yeah. So it definitely plays.
But
that
then
way,
again, it has power over you.
Yeah.
Power over it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. For sure.
Is that, like, I mean, going back to the question, do you feel that the curiosity could potentially bring you down a path where you go, okay, like, I really want to get an answer as to what this void is?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think hunting for that answer right now I feel like we haven't gotten friendly enough yet, me and the void, to have that conversation. Right now, we're just learning not to run from each other. And then at some point, I'll work out where he's from. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I feel like for now, I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to understand it for now, and maybe get some relationship where we're not running from each other all the time. And then eventually I'll go, okay, well, now I've done that and there's no longer this hostile idea about it. Then I'll delve into where I think it came from and see, is it still necessary in my life? Is there a way of getting rid of it? That kind of thing, you know?
And do you feel, because you've removed some of these, maybe, let's say, unhealthier distractions in your life or numbing agents in your life, that the void now has become a lot more prevalent?
Definitely became more prevalent, but I also got to know it better, so it's no longer so much of a threat to me. Do you know, it's kind of that kind of weird thing, whereas I thought that the safest place it could be is miles away from me. But then
it's like taming the beast, isn't it?
Exactly,
like,
exactly. Do you know what I mean? Like, people have said it to me that if you don't talk to me, I'm a big bald guy with face tattoos. It's intimidating to some people. If you come over and have a chat, I'm actually grand. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's similar. Do you know? Like, exactly.
Isn't that funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it is funny. yeah. I'm somebody's void, but no, it's 100% that, like, it. Unless you get to know something, you're just frightened of it and confused and get it away from me.
Yeah.
You have to kind of familiarize yourself with something. And sitting with that feeling has been huge.
Yeah.
And it's like, just to see what, like, you know, I'd sit there and go, this is all getting very overwhelming, very stressed, real urge to run away from all of this. I don't think that it's a, you know, other dimensional being that can actually hurt me. I'm pretty sure that it's just my own mindset. So let's just see what happens in, 5 minutes. Just sit with it for a little bit. And that has been the best part of the whole thing. I'm nowhere near the end of that journey.
Yeah.
Definitely not at the beginning anymore.
Class.
You know, which is really good.
Well, we'll continue this conversation in 2 years' time, and we'll find out what happens to this void.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's but again, that approach is just so brilliant, where you're allowing it in.
Yeah.
Instead of pushing it away. And you mentioned something there in terms of confusion. You know, the confusion obviously breeds uncertainty, and the uncertainty then can bring up a lot of anxiety and fear because you don't know what this is. And this is I feel a massive thing for a lot of people out there, is there's a void, there's an issue, there's a pain, but you don't know what it is. It's like, just sit with it and just become curious and talk to it, or make friends with it and ask, okay, all right, what are you here to show me? What is this? And again, you sit there long enough, something will drop in eventually. We go, oh, okay, that's a clue.
Yeah, that's
a breadcrumb.
Yeah.
That's bring me closer to something, you know. And then you know, enough breadcrumbs will bring you back home to the answer.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you've recently got engaged.
Recently got engaged, a year, and I'm terrible at work.
Well,
how
not that recent. Yeah, it was actually some time.
19th,
not that long after our first episode.
19th of November, not the one just gone, but the one before that. It's like a year and a half, nearly. Engaged happily.
Yeah,
got engaged on the beach. It was fantastic.
What? It's a bit of a silly question, maybe for some people. What was your sort of intention around that engagement?
Do you know? It's one of those things where I feel like there are bits of a relationship. First time somebody stays in your house, first time you exchange house keys, first time you sleep in the same bed, first time there are things. And then at some point in a relationship, you're extremely close, but I just was ready for the next exchange house keys. Do you know what I mean? There was just I was like, I haven't made a action that demonstrates this has gone further. And I suppose that's a very unromantic way of just saying I'm in love.
No, that's very nicely put. Yeah. So it's to show her, to show the relationship that
show us, show everybody.
We are now here. Yeah.
Everybody involved, me, her, the world. Yeah. The void, he was there too.
The void was there. Yeah. Hey, buddy.
He's real nice about it. Actually, he stayed right back. The whole thing. He's watched from an appropriate distance. But that kind of, and also just it felt, you get to a point when you're that close to somebody, that in love with them. You've known, when we've grown up together, we got together when we were kids. You know, so it just felt inappropriate not to be engaged. Yeah. And I was like, well, you know, now's the time then.
And, you know, as you mentioned there, you're somebody that looks at 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
What does 10 years down the line look like
in life?
With this wonderful woman in your life?
I hope mostly how it looks now, but with slightly less of the dramatic issues of just the world being the world. I'm sure there'll be new ones. But, you know, I just, I'm enjoying, I've said this so many times, which is I think the meaning of life is just to enjoy the passage of time. And I'm just having a good time having a buddy to do it with. You know, That's honestly what it is. Like there are a couple of things that I wouldn't say, I suppose mantra is kind of the word. There are things that I say to myself. Some of them are really motivational and get me to do extreme stuff. And some of them get me to sit and do the exact opposite. And I just apply whichever one I need at the time. And one of them is the only criteria for a good life is that you enjoyed living it. Do you know? And I don't remember when I said that first. It was one of those ones that I came up with myself, said organically. But I really, it's criteria for a good life isn't car, house, job, financial status, specific partner, just because they're absolutely meant. Like, it's none of that. It's just if you had more days when you went, it was pretty good, then you went, that was shit, good life. Do you know? And that's it. That's the whole thing. And just enjoying the passage of time. Resenting the fact you're getting older is not going to stop you getting older. It's just going to stop you enjoying the process of doing it. And I think that all of that is just, whenever I look 10 years into the future, I just hope that that attitude has given me more days where I went, that was pretty good. And I'm just really happy to be able to do it with somebody else that enjoys doing it with me.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And have you considered fatherhood?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I would have a hard time looking after a houseplant, even if it was a cactus. So maybe not yet. It's not something that's not on the cards. And also, as
the cactus isn't screaming at you, like
exactly,
demanding your time and energy. So.
And I have the best part of my nephew. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
best kid, and I love him so much because when I've got him, I'm there and it's exciting and he's great. And then he makes an awful smell or sound, and I go, you know what I mean? And I just hey, take that away. Yeah, and that's where I'm not necessarily sure that I want a situation where I go, oh, you're doing the bad thing. Oh, that's my problem. You know what I mean? So and also I have such an urge to just travel and do things, and spontaneity is one of the most valuable things in the world to me. I think sometimes it's an escape from the void. Sometimes it's something I really value. And I do it all the time. Even to this day, 2:00 in the morning, just can't sleep. I'll get in the car and drive off somewhere and I'll go to the beach. I don't know, drive anywhere. I might drive 3 hours just to go and then sleep in the car, just whatever. And you can't do that with a child, obviously. And I don't think I'm ready to give that up yet.
Okay. Do you think at some point you will?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You don't know, but you don't know.
I don't know. No, I don't.
You can always bring the child with you on these spontaneous travels.
I don't know how much toddlers like being woken up at 2 a.m. to go to the beach, sleep in the car. But look, that one will love it.
Well, I mean, she'll be with them, and then or her, and then you can go off and do your thing.
Yeah. Maybe. Look, it's one of those things where I'm not putting it off the table.
Yeah.
It's just obviously because my mom as well and stuff. There's a lot.
Yeah.
I think at the moment maybe not.
Yeah.
But in the future maybe not. It's one of those things where if it never happens, okay.
You're not one of these people who has a sort of burning desire to become a father.
No, I'm not. I have to say I'm not.
And you're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me at all. I had a great father figure, and so it's not like I was void of one, and that's made me unsure of fatherhood in general. It's genuinely just that I trust myself to have a good time. I don't necessarily trust myself to responsibly look after a baby.
Okay.
So and I definitely it would terrify me that I was a bad parent. I would have a real issue with that. Like it bothers me if I don't think that I can do what I consider to be a really good job, then I'm not going to do it. I'll swing and miss at many things, but I'm not going to do that. I take that very seriously, and I also don't want to be in a place in life where I ever resent it.
Okay.
Because I feel like children know if you resent the fact that you had the child, for sure.
Yeah,
even if you never say it, they know.
Pick up on it.
They pick up. And so, I never want to have that feeling of, well, I was going to move to Spain for 6 months. Now you're here. Do you know what I mean? I never want to have that.
And with this spontaneity, you don't know what's going to happen next?
No, most of the time. I try not to know. I try not to know as much as I can. Like, obviously, I plan some stuff. Like, I mean, obviously, if I'm working, I have to know what days. If I'm going on holiday, I have to book a flight. But that's as locked in as I'll allow it to get. I like everything else to be as fluid as physically possible. So if one day I wake up and go, I actually hate all of this, I can change it.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's not unlike me to suddenly just wake up and go, nope, something else. And then it just has to be something else.
But travel is definitely
travel's a big thing.
It's an itch that you want to continue scratching.
Yeah, for sure. I like traveling a lot. Yeah. I want to do Scandinavia more than I can even express. Right now might not be the time for it because I'd like to do it for a couple of months and I have responsibilities here that I have to look after. But I want to go and buy an old Land Cruiser and drive around Norway for as long as I get away with it.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that. At some point it's going to happen.
Nice one. So is there anything that you could leave us with or express to the listeners here that would just maybe help to steer them in the right direction, as you have steered yourself in a very healthy direction in your own life? Like maybe bringing yourself back to a place some years ago where there was just something maybe you needed to hear at a point, that if you heard it, and maybe you did hear it, that would have influenced a different direction in your life towards something healthier, peaceful, more joyful.
I think that the heavy lifting stuff is stuff I've said hundreds of times, the obvious get out of a really dark place kind of stuff. But something I've been really meditating on at the moment is actually about to-do lists, completely randomly. I made a video about it actually that's going on YouTube at some point whenever I get myself together to post it. But that having a good time doesn't just come naturally. You have to work for it, the same as you have to work for exercising and having a good diet and doing constructive things. And I think a huge thing that I'm learning at the moment is that the magic in life that seems to be missing is because you're not looking for it hard enough. And if you want, one of the things I said is a good to-do list isn't get up, exercise, eat under 2,000 calories, put the bins out later. That's a productive day. It's not a good day. You should also be putting things on there that make you at the end of the day go, that's a memory. I'll remember that forever. That was really fun. I like that. And I think prioritizing enjoying being alive, not just living efficiently, is something I'm still really in the middle of learning for myself. I think that's one of the most important thoughts that I've had recently.
Beautiful, man. Thank you for that. And for anyone who isn't following Caoilte MacLean on your socials, please let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, well, first name, Caoilte on every platform I have. It's all just the same thing everywhere.
The one and only.
The one, well, there's a load of fake ones, but they've all got weird names on it and they're all AI, so we'll ignore those.
But you've fake, you got loads of fake
profiles. Loads of fakes.
Oh, I do.
There's loads of fakes.
You're there now. Yeah, good man. You've made it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Man, absolutely love this conversation.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Really enjoyed.
I love you, man. And until next time.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you again for tuning in to this episode. If there has been something that has resonated with you on this conversation, ping me a message over on Instagram at Gavin Meenan and let me know what it was. Chat soon.